What's up, everybody? Another week, another beautiful Friday. I'm coming here from Sunshine State, Florida. My name is Michael Maccabee. I am the founder of MTIP Commercial Real Estate, and I'm coming here today on this lovely Friday to educate everybody here on real estate, commercial real estate in specific. I'm very happy that you guys are joining, and I hope you guys find this educational. I'm taking my personal time out to be able to expand your horizons here and to teach you guys some concepts that a lot of people won't talk about or don't care to talk about in their day-to-day. And so today's topic that we're going to be covering in quite detail is an essential part of the acquisitions process of a piece of real estate. And without this, you really can't get a sense of whether a piece of real estate is a good deal or not. So there is a system in place within our company that we call CUE, C-U-E. That's comping, underwriting, and evaluating a piece of commercial real estate. And that's what we're going to cover today. Okay, so a quick little background on who I am. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Michael Maccabee. I'm the founder of MTIP Commercial Real Estate. We are a commercial real estate based out of Florida, Miami, and New York. We have a satellite office there as well. We handle real estate all over the country. But our primary focus is non-residential, meaning not single-family homes, no condominiums. Although a lot of what we talk about can help you in that field, that's not our emphasis. So with that being said, my background is extensive in this field. I've been doing it for 15 years. I have my own acquisitions fund called Broadbridge. We purchase and acquire our own real estate. We syndicate our own real estate as a result of what we do as well. And that's me in a nutshell. I'm coming out with a book. It's going to be called My Real Estate Bible, The Art of My Hustle. My whole life experience, everything I've done to date, I'm going to be exposing to you guys, which is my goal. So without further ado, let's talk about today's subject, okay? What is a comparable market analysis? All right, comping in short. What is it? So when you find a piece of real estate, okay, you found it off market, your friend told you about it, a broker told you about it, regardless of how you found it, right? Now you have it. You have this deal in your hand. How do you know if it's worth what the person's asking? Or what if the person that you're speaking to, may it be the broker or more importantly, the property owner, what if they ask you, what do you think this property is worth? Or what are you willing to pay for the property? How do you evaluate that deal? And so in real estate, there are three means, and we're going to talk about them, of analyzing what a property is worth, three methods, okay? And one of them, the most commonly used, is called the comparable market approach. And that's what we're going to cover today. And specifically, I'm going to dive in very, very specifically on how we use our technologies that we obviously service, that we go and offer to all of our members. That's proprietary to us. We're going to show you guys how to leverage those to be able to get the answers to what we're going to be talking about today. So, in real estate, like I said, there's three primary methods. There is the comparable that we talked about. That's most common. That's what everyone uses in residential real estate too. And I'm going to cover what that means in a moment. There's income, which is more of an underwriting, right? We talked about CUE. Our system is comping, underwriting, and evaluating. The comping is finding other properties that have recently sold that are similar in metric, size, age, a multitude of different ideas, and comparing to come to an evaluation, right? And income, which we're going to also talk about next week when we go over underwriting, and we're going to go extensively into that topic. Income is based on the cash flow, the money coming into an asset, regardless of where it's located or the positioning of it. It's just based on straight money coming in, expenses going out, and what your net profit is and cash on cash return is. And the third, which is the least used, is called the replacement cost. And in the replacement cost, in rural areas where there's not many comps, and it's hard to decide based on income, then people go based on, or appraisers go based on what it would be worth to actually tear down or rebuild, a property, a building on the land that's sitting there. You cannot use replacement costs on land because there's no building on it to replace, but it is very commonly used for rural areas. And those are the three main ones. Now, diving into the comparable approach. So these are the metrics that we're going to be looking at today, all right? Or most people do look at when they're looking at comps. So you want to look at recent sales. What has recently sold in an approximate range from your property, your subject site, the one that you're evaluating? Could be a mile away, could be 2 miles away, could be 5 miles away, all right? There is no set rule to this unless you're a glorified appraiser, which I'm not, but I tentatively like to go a few miles out, depending on how many results I get, and narrow or broaden my search criteria from there. So you want to look for what sold primarily in the last 90 days, and if there's not much that's sold, right, then I would make it half a year, 1 year, 2 years, and I would go as far back as I need in order to get the data points, the sales records that most qualify for me to get an idea of what the property's worth. So that's recent sales history. The idea from there is you're going to find a price, what the properties, the adjacent ones, the perimeter ones sold for, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take that value, let's say $1 million, for example, and you're going to divide it by the square footage of the existing building to get something called the price per square foot for the building, right? So you take $1 million and let's say you have a 10,000 square foot building, you divide it and you get $100 a foot. The same thing we're going to do for price per square foot on the land, the size of the land, right? So now you have two data points. You have price per foot land, price per foot building, and the last one, which really applies to multi-family apartment complexes or multi-complexes that are, let's say, industrial park that have more than one tenant than a facility or a site, you're going to use something called price per unit or price per door, which is very common in the industry. And what that means is you take that $1 million price sale and you're going to divide it by the number of units that is situated within that structure. Okay? You have 10 units, it's $1 million sale, that's $1 million divided by 10, you get $100,000 price per unit or price per door. So that's a quick little recap of those three terms which we're going to be focusing on, because from those data points, we actually managed to get our averages, our lows, our highs, and our ranges, which we're going to talk about later. So before I dive into more details, I want to actually talk about the difference between residential comping and commercial comping in a nutshell. So those of you guys that know about this term, are familiar with it, you guys know that there are great websites, great technologies out there that will automatically comp for you, which is unbelievable, and it's an amazing tool for residential realtors, investors. On the commercial side, there is no such thing, nor can there ever be, because every property in commercial real estate is unique. And whether it's the cash flow analysis of it, or the location, or the type of building, or the tenant that's in it, there's so many variables in commercial real estate that it has to be analyzed on a case-to-case basis. And you got to get good about doing it. In residential, you take a single family house or a condo, right? There's 100 condos in the same building, a couple different floor plans, looking up the last recent sales, and you just compare the price per foot or the price per door, and you compare it to your existing site, the subject site you're looking for, and bam, just like that, you get a quick number or value of what you think the property's worth. And that's really in a nutshell. In commercial real estate, in comparison, there are far fewer assets in the country that are commercial. So if you guys ever listened to me before, you guys will know that I know this statistic. There's about 150 million properties in the United States. And over 100 million of them are single-family residences, condos and homes. Okay? There's about 30 million lots that are just plots of land. And then there's about 20 million in segments, 5 million multifamily and so forth, that are non-residential. So there's far fewer assets in commercial. 2, there are not that many deals that are being sold. So the volume in transactions is fewer. So it's harder to find those data sets in commercial in comparison to residential, because there's a lot more deals happening in residential, smaller values, more people, more inventory to work with, which makes it far more easier to analyze and check out. Now the websites for you guys, those of you guys who don't know that you guys can find comps in residential, you can use Zillow.com. They have a Z-estimate, approximate evaluation. You can see it's based on an algorithm they built, and it gives you an evaluation. You have your local MLSs in your jurisdictions if you're brokers out there. And then you have title company, which feeds information from your local county assessor's office. On the commercial side, you have a company which I can't stand, despise, and would never enroll to, called CoStar. Okay, they're the largest commercial real estate website in the world today. I will give them credit for that. They're an amazing resource. I just can't stand their management and the way they conduct themselves to their members. They own another company called LoopNet. These two, more so CoStar, are probably a broker's or investor's primary resource to get comparable sales, because they spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money accumulating the data required to be able to do that analysis for you. And they got great extensive reporting. So it's a great tool. And then you have any kind of local random MLSs. There's a bunch of websites out there. I'm going to skip through it. But most importantly, I'm going to talk about Reonomy. I spoke about it a few weeks back. Reonomy.com. This is the application that we use in our firm, in our fund, to not only get property owner contact information, research markets, but we use it for comps. We use it to find recently sold property in commercial real estate. And that's what we're going to cover. I'm going to dive in, really dissect how we at MTIP use Reonomy as a tool to be able to find those values. So after years of research, right, we really figured out that there is 5 steps, right? 5 unique steps required for a person, someone that's underwriting or comping or evaluating and analyzing a deal, to go through in order to get to an assessment of whether or not, what the property's worth in a range, right? You'll never know exactly what the property's worth. Only the market could dictate that. But at least you'll get a range, a low, an average, and maybe a high evaluation of what a particular property in commercial real estate is worth. So going back to our 5-step system. So we built a system, we're going to talk about the system, that covers 5 steps. The first is, when you know about a deal, a property, your guy, your friend, your broker, whoever tells you, hey, I got a deal for you, want to look at it. The first thing that we do is we pull out what we call a property profile report. And in that report, we get all the elementary, rudimentary things about the asset. The size of the building, the lot, the zoning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? The second thing is, I want to know who the owner is and what else they own. Okay? And that for me is a very strong indicator, because when I come to submit an offer, I want to know how sophisticated this owner is. Do they own 50 lots? Do they own just that one lot? Have they owned it for 50 years, 20 years, 10 years? How much debt they have? Okay, what their position is. You can see all this information in that initial report. The third is the comp report, which we're going to talk about, which means you're going to be going into Reonomy, finding assets with similar sales and bringing them in. And then 4 is evaluating, based on those comps, what your site is worth, the low, average, and high price. And 5, which we're not going to cover today, we're going to talk about next week, is the underwriting, the income, how that is justified, and that's something what the financial institutions look like. Above me is a proprietary macro. Okay, it's a form of Google Sheet, CSV, Excel, whatever you want to call it, designed by our in-house team, that allows us to take the information, the data points that we retrieve from Reonomy, the properties, the comps, and dump them into this unique sheet that was designed for us to automatically give us amazing output, which is the price per foot for land, building, and the price per unit. And it creates those metrics for us in real time. And it also gives us an area to put in the subject properties information, the actual building we're analyzing. And then finally, it creates averages, which is brilliant, right? And the idea is, let's say you take 5 buildings that you find that are the best recently sold comparable buildings or plots of land to the subject property you're trying to analyze. So you're going to take that data from Reonomy and you're going to plug it into this proprietary sheet. People, again, access to MTIP, they get this. Then it creates all these analytical bits and averages it out. And at the very bottom, in red you can see it, it gives you a price evaluation range from the lowest value to the highest value, okay? Based on price per square foot on building, price per square foot on land, and price per unit for those of you guys looking at multifamily. And it creates ranges, right? But it doesn't just create averages and then have you go and take those averages and multiply it by your subject properties information. It actually performs that task for you. So it'll take the averages that it calculates in real time, multiplies it by your property's square footage to give you an actual price evaluation based on that data point. So for example, in this example of MubMe, we have 5 assets. One sold for $450, $360, $490, $600. It's a very tight range, right? It gave me the price per foot on each and the price per unit. And then it created the average and it took my building that the subject property we're looking at is 3,300 square foot building on a 3,500, 3,600 square foot lot. Okay? And then it gives me what that property is approximately worth. Again, no one knows what a property is worth unless you technically appraise it. And appraisers, by the way, it's still subjective because you can hire an appraiser, pay them $500, $3,000 depending on the asset, and they'll give you an output, right? But another appraiser might give you a completely different output. And so depending on which financial institution hires that appraiser, that's kind of what you're going to get stuck with. But when you're coming as an investor, before you appraise the property, as a broker, before you give your BOV, your broker's opinion of value, you need to be able to sit with the owner and negotiate or explain to them the range of what it's worth. Say, listen, on the low end, your property might be worth this much. And on the high end, I mean, this is the market screaming, it's worth this much. All right? I think somewhere in the middle probably is where you should place it on the market or enter a contract that's reasonable. What we call fair market value, okay? Without this tool, it's a lot of computing, guys. Those of you guys who are in the business, you know when you sit to do this math, it's a mind fuck, right? Especially in commercial real estate, because in residential, a lot of softwares out there, including the ones I mentioned earlier, already give you these approximate evaluations. In commercial, it simply doesn't exist, nor do I think it ever will, because it's so complex. All right, so we plug in information, we get our results, and from there, we're golden, right? We have our value, we have our approximate value, and that's in a nutshell how we do our comps, okay, using Reonomy. Now I really want to take a moment and dive into step by step, and I'm going to blast through this because it's a lot of information, and if you guys are watching this, I'm recording it. I'll be posting it for those of you guys who missed this. And you can watch this as many times as you want. You can go back and review this information because this is fuck you great information for those of you guys who want to learn and actually execute on what it is that I'm explaining to you. Nobody else is going to give you this hands-on, what I call training on this platform. You can sign up for Reonomy, but guess what? They will not teach you the inside secrets of how to use it as an investor, as a broker, as someone trying to find a deal. So here goes nothing. The first step is, like I said, in our 5 steps of our MTIP system with Reonomy is you want to look up the property profile information for your subject property, okay? In it, again, you're going to get a recap of who the owner is, the square footage is, the zoning, the number of stories, debt information, tax information, sales history, legal address, APN, description, whether it was a multiple parcel, meaning multiple parcels sold in that one transaction or not, etc., etc., etc. 2, you want to get the information of what else the property owns, right? What else the owner owns, what other properties, okay? You also want, and this goes back to prospecting, when you prospect an owner or you're talking to a broker and you want to get more information on the deal, you got to ask the following questions. And this comes into more of the underwriting, but you still need this information. Otherwise, you're going to have to go and check market research to get approximations, right? And that's not accurate. You want to be accurate to give the best price. So you want stuff like the gross operating income for the rents. your expenses, the net operating income, how many tenants, the vacancies, the individual rent values for each tenant, their lease terms, the types of tenants, the names of the tenants if they're willing to give it to you. So you know if it's a Walmart or a Joe Blow. Whether they have options to exercise or extend their leases, okay? Whether there are rental increases built into it. Whether they have options to purchase the property from the owner because of their lease, all right? Is that lease a gross lease or a net lease? Estoppel certificate, mortgage information, their owner's history about the property, and their motive. Why do they want to sell? Which is so key when you're trying to buy a property and evaluate the psychology of what offer you're going to give them, right? What is the best use for the property? What is it now? What can it be? Does the owner have any entitlements, any plans that they've done, surveys, reports? Do they use a management company or not? Are there any brokers involved in the deal or not? Do they want to perform what we call a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, or do they just want to cash out and pay the capital gains? Is the owner willing to finance the deal, become the bank for the deal? What are the terms they're looking for in that escrow, in that transaction? Due diligence period, close of escrow, all of these terms, right? What kind of interest would they want? Down payment, okay? And whether or not they did an appraisal, which is a great way to get their price if they're playing hooky with you on what the value is. I ask someone, what do you think your property's worth? They say, I don't know, what did you tell me? Then instead of asking the same question, you can say something like, when's the last time did you got an appraisal? And that's basically saying what's your property worth based on that date. And that creates a benchmark for a number, right, of what it can possibly be worth. The third step is you want to start doing your research, right? And the tool to be able to do that is going to be Reonomy. Again, we talked about it. Okay, you can plug in their filters. We're going to talk about what filters and specifically how to use it in a moment. So, are we good on time, guys?
Yes, we have 4 minutes before we...
Okay, we got 4 minutes. Let's hit this. So, step number one, I'm assuming now you're either a member with me in our organization at MTIP. And by the way, if you don't know this, we have a university that teaches this and so much more. There's 20 hours plus footage that I cover a sundry of topics, strategies, my life story. You can find that at mtipu.com, okay? That's a starting point. If you want to engage and work with me, okay, you have ideas, you want to talk to me, hit me on Instagram. But as a starting point, I'm assuming now you're either a member or you're your lone wolf. You like what I said, you went to Reonomy and you subscribed. This is what you do. You log in, and at the very top of the address bar, you're going to find a search button, and you're going to plug in the subject property that you're trying to comp out. Okay, that's step one. Step two, you're going to want to get a report. And what we do is we get a property report, which is basically a PDF, right? A document you can download from Reonomy that gives you the basics on that asset. That's like one of the first steps of the 5 steps. Okay? And in this illustration, after you found the asset, there's going to be a button that you click on. And I think it's the print button right over here that allows you to download that image. Okay? Now that you have the information on the property, what I do specifically is I'll either do a radius search, or what I really like to do is a zip code search to find every other asset in that area, in that zip code that's sold. So the first step in our filtering is we're going to maybe split our screens into 2 screens. So we have 2 Reonomy screens, right? One for the subject information, the property we started with, and another one to actually go and filter and find other properties that sold. And we're going to go into the search filter called location, and we're going to plug in the zip code. So if you see in the image, hopefully you can see it, it says this is a property in Miami, 33125 zip code. I plug in the zip code, and boom, just like that, I get 3,790 properties in that zip code, non-residential, right? Because Reonomy does not do residential, that it displays, okay? From there, I'm going to skip to another tab called Sales. In the Sales tab, I'm going to plug in a couple of different features. Number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the most recent sale date, and I'm going to make sure that the radius button that says in, not in is selected, and then I'm going to drop down and pick the most recent sales that have occurred in the last 90 days as a starting point. Okay, that's the next thing. From there, depending on the number of results, right? Sometimes you'll get a lot of results, sometimes you won't get many results. For me, you want to end up with 10 or less comp results, okay? That's the ideal scenario, 10 or less. 5 is good, 3 is lean, optimal, okay? Sometimes you won't have any, and you might have to broaden that search. We're going to cover that, okay? The second layer of filtering is going to be asset type. So this property is a mixed-use property, so we're going to go into commercial under asset type and find mixed use, and we see that there's 2 assets within those 3,000 properties that have sold in the last 90 days. So what we've done is we've isolated 2, right? We were at 3,000, it dropped down to, 20, and now it dropped down to 2. Excuse me, it was 54, and it dropped down to 2. We go into asset class, and in asset class, we look at what the subject property's asset class is. This case was mixed use, so we selected mixed use on our other side in our search field, and we found that there's 2 properties identified that fit that criteria, right? And now we have 2 possible viable, what we call data points to analyze, okay? Another thing we want to do is make sure that we, in the sales segment of filtering, all right, you want to make sure you look at multiple parcel sale and you want to select no. So a quick notion of what that is. Every piece of real estate transaction that's sold in commercial real estate in comparison to residential is there could be multiple lots, okay, what we call parcels or APNs, assessor parcel numbers, that are sold in one transaction. And in residential, it's usually just one, right? The house, and that's what it is, one lot sold. So if a property sold for $1 million, for example, and it was a house, they take the million, they divide it by the building square footage, and boom, you're done, you get your output. In commercial real estate, non-residential real estate, the county might take that $1 million, and because it was 3 individual lots or parcels, and they will record 1 million 3 times on the title or deed as a sale value. And what that does is it confuses people thinking that each property sold for $1 million, where in fact all 3 lots sold for the $1 million, all right? Which can skew and totally discombobulate your analytics, your averages. So what we do is instead of focusing on properties with multiple parcel sales, because that's another side step that we wouldn't want to get into, we just select the option in Reonomy that says, don't show us any results that were part of multiple parcels. Show us just the individual sales, just like the residential sales of real estate, okay? Okay, so after you do that, right, you're going to get results. And I said this earlier, your ideal scenario is to get no more than 10 results on your proprietary sheet, your analytic. If you get more than 10 results, you need to start adding filters, okay? And there's a lot of filters you can add. Here are some suggestions. You can add the building square footages, right? If my building is 5,000 feet, maybe I'll give buildings from 2,000 feet to 7,000 feet and try to narrow my search criteria, right? And those are things you're going to have to play with. Another idea is lot size. You can throw in the lot size, narrow those filters down. You can do age of building, right? A lot of people in multifamily. Properties that are newer, right, sell for a higher price per floor, per unit, or price per square foot than older buildings. Properties with smaller lots compared to larger lots might also vary. So these are simple things I just threw out there that you should pay attention to, all right? And I would start very broad because again, unlike residential, commercial doesn't have that many results. So don't try to go hyper specific because you won't find results. You'll be like, how do I compare this? I can't find any comps. And a lot of you do that. A lot of my reps do that. And so the quickest advice is go broad. Go broad, go longer back in dates, right? Maybe sometimes even if you're hyper specific, you might have to go further back than 90 days. You might have to go 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years back in time because there's no transaction that's sold. And by the way, that's a great piece of news. When a property or an area isn't really active, what do you think that means? that means the real estate is on fire. Okay, these owners, all right, they're holding on to dear life, and the value is really, really high. It's a good piece of real estate. If real estate is transacting a lot, what does that mean? It's a buyer's market. The market might be at a downfall. When there's a lot of transactions happening, a lot of people think, oh, that must be a great market. Yes, and probably no. Because when a lot of deals transpire, that means there's a lot of inventory and people are trying to deplete it as quick as they can, like a wildfire. And so it's sometimes harder to compete on value. So if you're an owner and you own a building and there's a lot of deals going on, guess what? It's going to be harder to sell your property. Common sense. Whereas there are fewer transactions, your property's worth more. So those of you guys who are looking for deals, try to focus, depending on what your strategy is, try to focus on areas that you don't see that many transactions, because that's where you're going to end up becoming kingpin. If you find one deal in an area that is very tight in inventory, you're going to have a very good chance to flip that deal, syndicate that deal, or potentially buy and hold that deal, right? Depending on your situation, your financial situation, and you can make a lot of money on appreciation. The areas that have very little inventory have really shitty cash flow. It's just a direct correlation. And we're going to talk about this more next week when I talk about underwriting and cash flow analysis and so forth. But remember that if a property is worth a lot, right, the income's going to be shitty. And the converse is true too, right? The property's making a lot of money, potentially, right? The value might not be a direct correspondence to it or relation to it. And we're going to talk about that, right? So use these filters, go back in time, finagle your results. But you want to get 10 results and take those results and plug them into your spreadsheet. Now, another aspect of filtering that I forgot to mention, I think there's a few more, we're going to cover quickly, in Reonomy. You also want to make sure under the sales tab in Reonomy, you want to make sure you put a minimum value of most recent sale price of at least $1,000. Okay? And here's why. The county recorder's office, where people actually record their deeds to purchase their real estate. A lot of you guys don't know this, right? The owner and the buyer have a choice of whether or not they want to divulge what the sale price was. And I can tell you from statistic analysis, about 2 out of 3 buildings shows a value. 1/3 of the buildings do not. Okay? And you don't want to see what doesn't have a value, right? Because it's not relevant. You only want to see properties that actually show a value, because those are the data points you're going to use or be able to use to be able to get your price per foot and so forth. So what we do is, we don't want our search results, we want to eliminate all the transactions, even though they're recent, even though they fit the exact building criteria, but we want to eliminate the ones with no price on it, because what's that going to do for us at this stage, right? And we do that by filtering it, putting a minimum of $1,000 as a starting point. Okay? Then we're going to click on apply. There's a button right after you do the filter on the right bottom. You click apply and it will show you your results. And when it shows you your results, it's going to show you a list. By clicking the icon listed right underneath the map called table. If you click on that, you're going to see your results in a list format. And you can sort that list from high to low, whatever you want. You can create a report, right? Which is by clicking the more button, and this is free, by the way. You can click on a report. It'll create a beautiful PDF with a map that shows all of the assets that were part of that report, as well as all the property characteristics and whatnot. And you can gather that. So when you go to do your listing presentation, if you're a broker, or if you're going to go present to your investors, or if you are an investor and you just want to remember in your file case for the property, what were the comps that we found that were relevant, right? Then you'll have that report. You have the property report, which we started with, and now you have the additional properties owned by the guy, and then you also have the comps, okay? There's another button which allows you to export the results into a CSV file. They will charge you for this, right? Depending on your membership, they'll charge you 20, 30, 40, 50 cents a record. We pay for it. It's invaluable. You get it out in a spreadsheet, and then we plug it into our proprietary macro right? This really sick thing that takes all the numbers and analyzes it for us and gives us this amazing result. And again, those who join our team have access to that, and it gives us an output, okay? So we take the information, we create these reports, and then we aggregate these reports, okay? And we put it in our CRM. Our CRM is called Follow-Up Boss. Follow-Up Boss is, I've scavenged through so many CRMs. I talked about this in our prospecting segment, but when we get a new prospect, an owner, right, and we focus on off-market commercial real estate, that's our goal, sellers that weren't necessarily willing or interested in selling, we want to make sure we have a complete docket, a great file for them. So all these reports, the property profile report, the additional properties owned, the comp report, we're going to take all these and we're going to add it to the client's contact page, right, under files, and we're going to upload it there. So anytime we want to talk to them, we can easily pull it up. And you guys can take these bits, put it in your own CRM, whatever you want to do. This is just how we do it. And it's great because if you're collaborating with a team, which we do, right? We got somebody in this division, that division. Everyone can see and collaborate effectively because all this information is housed in one centralized location, which is really, really important if you're trying to do volume, okay? A lot of you guys are maybe you're OCD control freaks. Everybody wants to do their own deals, but you're gonna come to a roadblock and you'll see that you can't wear all 6 hats. You're gonna have to delegate the work. And this aspect, comping, underwriting, and evaluating, this is a division within our company, and it's a process. It's one of 6 steps that our team members gradually learn over their course and career with us under our company and management. The first step, again, being going to MTIPU.com, our university, and getting in all the details, all the information about commercial real estate, my strategy there. Once you graduate, then we get you integrated with this type of information, okay? And we really give hands-on training, okay? You have questions, we have answers. A lot of time and effort to research, to identify, to figure out all these nuances, which I'm just sharing to the public for free, right? I have no interest in charging you money, giving you this information. My sole primary objective this week and every week since I started these live broadcasts has been to hunt, to seek, to find and identify the hungry warriors out there, the grinders, the hustlers that want to make a tremendous amount of money and change their life, generational wealth for the betterment of themselves and their family, and hopefully our company, and do it with synergy, with integrity, with loyalty and respect. That's who I'm seeking, right? And I realize that I'm a nobody. You guys don't know who I am. I don't care how many of you guys are watching this right now. I know this recording is going to echo, right? This information is going to get to the right person. And those of you guys who are watching this and you're inspired by what I'm saying, take initiative. I challenge you to take bold initiative and go after this business because it's a remarkable business. It will change your life. Okay? Going back to what we're saying, are we okay on time?
1 minute.
1 minute, all right. So assuming you got this whole recap, you've been watching, you've been doing a great job. Thank you very much for bearing with me in my voice and the information. Assuming you get all these results, you're going to take all this Reonomy information and you're going to plug it in what we call the MTIP Comp Macro sheet, which is a proprietary sheet which I will not give you unless you work with me, then I'll happily will, right? That will make your life so much better, right? We spent thousands of dollars. I don't know how many thousands of dollars we spent to make this thing. So you click a button and it pops out the results for you and it alleviates a ton of time in the deal process, all right? Again, this is a tool that doesn't exist in commercial real estate that you guys have access to if you join. Non-residential, commercial or industrial real estate is different than residential in the fact that, again, each property is unique. There is no cookie cutter, put a number, slap it on and figure it out, right? And so you have to do the numbers. You have to do the work. It's a grinding of work, right? And it's a big process, a big part of the deal flow, right? So in our company, we have 6 steps for those who graduate MTIP University, which we're going to talk about. It's our online educational platform, a starting point for anyone, anywhere that's looking to get into commercial real estate and build generational wealth. I highly advise you to go to mtipu.com, go through the 20 hours of footage, learn the rudimentary, also advanced techniques and systems there. And then once you graduate, we get you a part of our MTIP membership. And what that entails is there's a 6-step process. The first one being prospecting. The second one being Q, what we call Q, comping, underwriting, and evaluating, which we're talking about today. The third step being about contract law, offers, back off, counter offers, back and forth. The fourth step's negotiation and closing, right? Sales, tactics. And the fifth one is about dispositions, how to sell the real estate. And sixth is about assignments and syndications. We teach people how to become commercial real estate investors. Although we are a brokerage, we also have an acquisitions fund called Broadbridge, for those of you guys who don't know about it. And we buy our own real estate. And we want to teach people, we want to partner with you in your respective area. If you're in Arizona, I want to know you. If you're in Texas, I want to know you. If you're in Chicago, I want to know you. If you have a team of people behind you, I especially want to know you, okay? Because we have a great engine, a marketing engine that can find opportunities, deals that no one knows about, what we call off-market property, and we can do it really, really, really quickly, and we can scale anywhere across the country. That's what makes us unique. That's what our system's all about. So, without further ado, let's hop back into some last examples about the difference between commercial properties, right, when you're comping. In this example number 1, we have a scenario about a property in San Antonio, Texas. It's a commercial property, okay? Looks like some kind of a maybe industrial warehouse of some sort. 6,400 square feet, 18,000 square foot lot, built in the 90s and 70s, renovated in the 90s, okay? We put in our information, we got our results, we pulled those results out, and we plugged it into our spreadsheet, our proprietary MTIP Macro spreadsheet for comping, again, and we got our results. And just like that, we can send an offer or step to the next step, which is underwriting, and then send our offer. In comparison, you might come across a different type of property, right? In this case, it's a vacant parking lot. And the way, even though the system is identical, right? You're doing the same steps in Reonomy, zip code, filters, all that to get the results, plugging it in. Land doesn't have price per unit. Land doesn't have price per square foot on building. It's got only one metric, price per square foot on land, right? Land might have something called FAR to consider, floor area ratio. Maybe that plot of land is approved to go 50 stories high, and the value might change because of that, right? People don't see these things when you're in residential real estate. And in commercial, every property, depending on location, city council member, what their planning division is thinking, it could be a whole different dynamic for that property. And that's why we take the time, right? Everybody needs to take the time to really understand what that piece of property is worth, okay? There's a quick way to do it, to get a tentative number and throw something out, and then there's the right way to do it, right? And we're trying to teach you guys good habits, how to put in the time. You have to put in the time, and we obviously have built this system. We're educating you guys about the system so that you can have a quicker time getting there and you can do more deals. My philosophy has always been scale, 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 scale as quickly as you can, right? And the only way to do that is to build systems. And a lot of people out there that are doing well will tell this to you. In 2019, we have more technology, more opportunity than my father or his father ever dreamt of, okay? If those people became multi-millionaires or billionaires, then what the fuck is our excuse, right? So we have all these tools and we don't use them to really propel our futures. And so those people that join our team, right? And we're going to talk about how you sitting watching this right now, if you aren't a part of my team already, how you can work with us, which is what I'm here to do, to encourage you to join our force. So you can learn about all these things. And it's not rocket science. It's just practice and grinding, right? So We have a university. It's called MTIP-U. That stands for Make the Impossible Possible University. It took over a year to build, and a lot of money was invested, resources, to bring you this amazing platform to help educate you on a level you'll probably get nowhere, all right? For pennies on the dollar. We have this platform. I cover things like my life history and who I am and how I got to where I am. We're going to give you guys access to the book we're about to publish about commercial real estate and journeys there. We're going to talk about an extensive evaluation of how to find deals, how to work those deals, how to negotiate those deals, how to sell those deals, how to syndicate those deals, how to buy real estate with sweat equity, right? We cover so much in this course. As a starting point, there's so much value that you get for pennies on the dollar. And I can assure you, you will not get it anywhere else. People that really excel, right? It takes someone, it's 20 hours worth of footage. I've seen someone do it in 3 days. I've seen someone do it over 3 months. The reality is, this platform allows you to go back and watch it again and again. Take notes, extensive notes, so that you can really learn and process the information. Unlike a live training where you're standing in front of me, you pay a tremendous amount of money for my time, right? I explain something and then poof, I'm gone, right? And not to say that I'm even worth that for you, but the reality is, I don't have the time to teach you. This was my only way to help you guys. And for me, the number one reason I built this platform wasn't to make money. There's like no money in this business for me. I'm in commercial real estate. I'm in technology. I'm in marketing. That's what I do. But I need to be able to find tigers, warriors, lions out there. And this MTIP University is really a platform to differentiate yourself from all the other people trying to apply to work with me. Okay? So for me, I'm looking for those of you guys who want to excel, that want to get ahead. Now, who is this for? You can be 17 years old right now. You can be 15 years old, right? Teenager. And you can buy into this course and you can learn a tremendous amount. You know, I cover so many topics in it. You know, there's like 42 topics. Again, 20 hours worth of information as a starting point. I talk about networking, relationships, accounting, contracts, how to build your, set up your banking, how to line up financing, how to raise equity, how to create systems, what systems to use so that you don't have to spend time looking up those systems, right? There are the different types of real estate. I mean, I can go on and on. The list it's a really long list. And you guys can learn this list and look at it by going to mtipu.com. Okay, I highly recommend it. Here's another bit. Why should you choose us over everybody else, okay? I'm going to cover who the everyone else is. I mentioned this last segment. I'm going to pretty much mention this every segment. The people out there that are promoting real estate, there's a lot of people out there talking about, I'm your guru, I can be your mentor. I'm not looking to be your mentor, okay? I can be, but that's not my point. I'm looking to partner with you. I want us to be business associates. You and your island, mine and my own, and together we go and build an empire in your respective market, or any market, as a matter of fact, that you have the balls to get into, all right? My objective is to find 100 candidates that can partner with me on a national level, okay? And I get dozens of inquiries a day, every day. And I personally talk to these people via text. You can reach out to me. If you subscribe and you registered on our website, which costs nothing to subscribe, okay? You're going to get a phone call from me at some point, and I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to figure out whether or not you're a joke or you're serious, right? And I implore you, be serious if you want to talk to me. Don't waste my time. I'm not here to mentor you. I'm not here to take your money. I'm here to find viable people that want to grow, that want to scale in commercial real estate, okay? This guy up here, Grant Cardone, everybody knows this guy's name. He's a great guy, okay? He's a great business person. He does multifamily commercial real estate. He buys hundreds of units at a time. The guy's over $1 billion under management, okay? That's not me. He's a personality. He wants to be on Instagram, flash things to you, grab your attention. That's also not what I'm trying to do. He will never sit with you, talk to you face to face, get on a phone call, because that's not where he's at right now. He's over 60 years old. I'm 33. My life has just begun. This guy's life is behind him. Married, kids, divorced. I'm hungry. I'm looking for hunger. Okay? Second guy, I don't even know what the fuck his name is. Clever investor guy. Really also nice guy. Looked at his shit. Okay? He teaches residential real estate. So those of you guys who want to do residential, let me remind you, you're making very little money. And let me repeat what very little money means. I talked to a guy the other day. He says I make $7,000 to $15,000, maybe $20,000 flipping residential deals. Okay, I can wipe my fucking tush with that because in commercial real estate, every deal you do is 50, 100, a quarter, a million, millions of dollars, okay, depending on your skill set, where you can never do that in residential real estate. So those of you in residential, I implore you, get the fuck out and use your brains. There's a world of opportunity in commercial real estate. Third guy, another really nice guy, Peter Harris, okay? This African-American, swell-looking Obama guy. This guy, all right? He's giving you free information, okay? Which is one of the best things I could have learned from him. He's offering you free information. His company's called, what is it called? Commercial Property Advisors, okay? Go look him up. He gives 8 hours of free content, which I encourage you to absorb, okay? And then he hits you with, become my apprentice. And I'm going to take $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 from you up front without giving you shit as a guarantee. It's non-refundable. Okay, I'm not giving you any additional value, but I'm going to help mentor you until you close $500,000 worth of business with me. Whether that's buying, selling, renting, managing, syndicate, whatever it is. I want $500,000 of partnership with you, okay, for as long as it's going to take. And that's his strategy, okay? I'm not interested in that. Day one with me, I'm going in. Once you graduate my university, I know you're real. I'm going to engage you. And then I'm going to get you on our systems. And then I'm going to teach you how to use those systems for yourself. You can say, fuck you, Mike. I'm not interested in partnering with you. I'm smarter than you. Okay, I got more money than you. I have more charisma. I got a better smile. My shirt is nicer than yours. Good for you. Take my technology, go make money with it. Run with it. For those of you who like what I'm pitching, okay, you like my tone, these are the people that I'm actually really geared towards. I will not only teach you that, I'm going to partner with you on these deals, and every deal is going to be a case-to-case basis. Whether I engage you need capital, I'll get you money. You need debt, I'll help you get debt. You need to find deals, I will teach you how to find deals. You don't have time, you just have money, you want to dump it somewhere. I'm going to show you how you can hire the right people to help you grow your business in commercial real estate. No one else will do this for you, all right? I don't want you to work for me. I want you to work for yourself. I want you to be your own best business person, okay? With that being said, I want to thank you guys very, very much for joining me this Friday. I'll see you guys next week. We're going to talk about underwriting and have an amazing weekend. Thanks a lot. And go to mtipu.com if you want to register and join to learn more. Thanks again. Have an amazing rest of your Friday, guys.